Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today, this final couple of days of 2024, by Ray Ora.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Jonathan Voico's here.
All right, everybody. Hello.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how our show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, the most important part, we take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, or a question you'd like us to address, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip, and we'll get around to answering it in the second part of the show, as long as we deem your question or topic appropriate for us to address on the show. Also, here's the good news. The tip link is actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're listening to our show a little bit later in the day on our podcast feed, either on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. By the way, guys, make sure you go and subscribe to the podcast feed in case you can't have a YouTube video in front of you, whether you're, commuting or on a treadmill or something like that. Go and subscribe to the podcast. Or if you're watching our show a little bit later in the day when we're not live, you can still use this tip link, again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Send on in your topic or question, and we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. Again, provided we deem your topic or question to be appropriate for us to address on the show. All right, guys. With that down, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about here today, and I hope all of you had a wonderful Christmas weekend. And that leads us right into our first topic, which is this. The box office delivered some Merry Christmas presents to a number of movies. Now, we've all been saying for a long time that the Christmas season is amongst the busiest seasons at the movie theaters. That's why every year we see a lot of movies lining up to get one of those coveted Christmas season release spots. We all think about summer release spots, but Christmas has become very competitive.
Very big.
And why do they want those spots? Well, here's why. 3 films that have already been out in theaters for a number of weeks. We always say you want to take like a 50% drop, not too much more than that. But if you take less than a 50% drop, it's awesome. Look at this. This is this weekend's box office. Mufasa, Wicked, and Moana all went up. All had bigger weekends this weekend than last weekend. In the case of Mufasa, now, normally you want to see, like I said, a 50% drop from week 1 to week 2. Any less than that is awesome. Any more than that, you get a little bit concerned, but that's right around where you want to be. Mufasa actually went up 4.8% from week 1, which is crazy. And then when you go down and look at Wicked, now you're talking about movies, Wicked and Moana 2, that are in their 4th and 5th weeks.
Mm-hmm.
These things went up 37%. Each one of those movies went up 37% from the weekend before. By the way, in the case of Moana, the number says 882. Today, sometime today, early tomorrow, Moana's going to cross $900 million, which is so much higher than the first Moana did. And by the way, Wicked, the movie said that when I tried to tell people that this was going to be a big movie and everybody told me nobody cares about Wicked, it's already at $634 million. Already one of the biggest films of the year. And its box office keeps hanging in there and has gone up almost 38% just from last weekend, which is nuts. I mean, both Wicked and Moana have major legs.
Oh, Craven's out of the top 10.
And to everybody's surprise, Craven dropped down. Now, but the good news about Craven is it did crack the $50 million mark.
It's official,
so
guys.
Congratulations to Craven.
Yeah.
Breaking that $50 million worldwide mark.
Yeah. I remember my first $50 million.
That's about $51 million more than it deserved. But I think the most interesting way, or the most interesting thing on this is, look, Sonic and Mufasa both opened at the same time. Why did Sonic, which by the way, Sonic had a 36.8% drop. That's a very good number.
That's very solid.
Yeah. Don't go, oh, how did it do so bad? 38% drop from week 1 to week 2. Excellent number. That's an excellent number for it. As a matter of fact, now, just out of its second weekend, Sonic the Hedgehog has now made $211 million worldwide. Not as much as I thought it would have by now, but still a very, very good, not just respectable, a very good second weekend drop-off. Well, why did Mufasa, though, go up? If you guys remember last weekend, Sonic had a much better week one than Mufasa did, and now they're practically tied. So some people might ask, why did Mufasa have such a better second weekend than Sonic did? I'll tell you right now, Sonic's the better movie. I didn't think Mufasa was a bad film. It just really wasn't anything to write home about. Whereas I thought Sonic, even though it's my third favorite of the three Sonic movies, I thought Sonic was quite delightful. Sonic 3 was charming and entertaining and just a joy to watch. Sonic was the better movie. Okay. So why did Sonic take such a significant drop compared to Mufasa, which actually went up? My best theory is this. With Mufasa and Sonic coming out on the same weekend, a lot more people chose Sonic first. I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Because you saw how much bigger of an opening weekend Sonic had. But I think that this number just means that a lot of people wanted to see both. So the majority of people who wanted to see both chose to go see Sonic in week one. And then they went to go see Mufasa week 2. Now, Sonic, I said, is sitting at 211 worldwide. Mufasa is now sitting at 327 worldwide. Now, there are still a couple of key international markets that Sonic hasn't ended up in, but it looks like Mufasa might end up as the bigger film out of the two.
And I figured it would.
I mean, I kind of guessed it would, although I got to say Sonic isn't doing as well as I thought it would. Now, look, remember, for the last 8 months, there's been this, I've had so many of you guys, my own viewers, my own people, a tout brute, telling me that I was certifiably insane for not believing that Sonic was going to hit $1 billion.
I don't know about that, man.
Yeah.
Does anybody still want to have that argument? Anybody still want to have that? Now, listen, but even I have to say that it's doing not quite as well as even I thought it would. Like, I thought it would be doing a little bit better than this. Granted, I think it's going to have pretty good legs. I think it's going to end up fine. Maybe not making as much money as the previous ones, but I still think it's going to be fine. It's going to be profitable. Mufasa is going to end up being fine. Wicked has already, like I said, crossed $600 million. Moana is about to cross $900 million. It was the box office just giveth Christmas gifts this week. Everybody seemed happy. Like even the new ones, Complete Unknown.
I love that movie,
its
by
coverage.
the way.
Yeah, it did better than was initially projected.
Mm-hmm.
And Nosferatu did better than projected.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, made $21 million on its opening weekend. So it was a pretty big group of happy filmmakers around the Christmas dinner table this year. The box office giveth. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about these numbers? Some of these are pretty astonishing. Do you have a favorite out of those films? Are there any on that list that you haven't seen yet? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, a while ago, they announced a new Spider-Man animated series was coming to Disney+. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. That's what it was going to be called. Now, initially, there was talk that Tom Holland was going to be doing the voice of it, and that this Spider-Man animated series was going to fit in the MCU. Apparently, neither of those were true, because we found out a while ago that somebody else is voicing Peter Parker, and it's not Tom Holland. And according to a new trailer that just dropped, it also doesn't look like it actually takes place in the... It takes place in a world where the Marvel characters exist,
Right.
but it doesn't look like it's our MCU that we know. But again, we'll have to see the show to know that for sure. Anyway, the first trailer dropped. And I know there have been a lot of people very, very curious about this trailer. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's a terrible... First of all, I understand. Now, listen, I'm saying this as an MCU fan. Everybody knows I'm an MCU fan. I don't like everything the MCU does, but everybody knows I'm an MCU fan. But let's start with this. I understand the modern trend with animation on TV is to do as cheap as possible, right? Like, as much as I love Harley Quinn, love that show, it's not exactly cutting edge, highest of quality animation. As much as I like Invincible. There's nobody making any arguments that it is the highest quality of animation. So I get it, right? You want to make these shows cost effective. You don't want to do cutting edge animation. I get that. That's fine. But this, remember I talked about that old Canadian cartoon show, Rocket Robin Hood?
Yeah.
This looked like that.
But I feel like this is trying to be an homage to that 60s thing. That's why I'm okay with it.
See, I've never bought the argument that's what it was trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never bought into that logic. Well, it was trying to do that. I don't care if that's what you're trying to do. It looks cheap. It looks now I get it. They're going for that old comic book style. Because you look at that image, that looks like a straight up 1960s panel from a comic book.
Yeah, like a Steve Ditko or whatever.
And I get that. I get the intention of it. But the results are still the results. And I was looking at this and I'm like, this doesn't look like a multi-billion-dollar company produced this. This looks cheap. Now remember, I'm only talking about the animation style right now, okay? That's all I'm talking about. But it just looked really, really cheap. It like somebody just made a good point. Brandon Coast in live chat. It looks like Archer. That's exactly the animation style looks like Archer.
Yeah.
Which I love Archer, but it also looks very cheap. It's not the highest end of animation.
Well, how did you feel about the X-Men 97, that animation?
It's difficult to judge because it looked just like it was supposed to be a continuation of the X-Men 97 of the X-Men original show, so they maintained the aesthetic. Right. Again, they clearly did not use cutting edge. They did not spare no expense for the animation of that show, but it is literally the sequel of that series, and it looks just like series, so it didn't jump out at me as much.
All right.
This being a brand new show, I just, for some reason, the animation style really jumped. I was expecting better. Now, I say that as somebody who has not watched the show yet. And maybe, this has happened before, maybe once I watch the show, I'll go, you know what? This style fits the show perfectly. I'm not saying I will. I'm not saying I won't. I'm just saying my first impression of looking at the trailer is that the animation looks very, very budget. Very Walmart animation. John, can you do any better? No, but I'm not an animator. I'm not the standard of excellence, am I? Anyway, let's move beyond the look of it. And there's nothing wrong with this. I feel like this is a show that's made for 12-year-olds. And I don't necessarily mean that in a negative light. There's nothing wrong with having shows that are targeted at a younger audience. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. That's great. I just was kind of thinking that Spider-Man, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, was going to be more likened unto an X-Men 97 that, you know, deals with very mature stuff. And it like a little heavier kind of stuff. And this to me looked like a 12-year-old's, they were literally targeting 12-year-olds. And if that's what they're going for and they're trying to give some content, because listen, almost all MCU stuff is targeted at a wide audience. It's targeted at adults, it's targeted at parents, it's targeted at teens. I mean, it's got a very wide net. There's nothing wrong if Marvel wants to say, you know what, we're going to make something specifically targeted at a certain demographic and age group. That's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what I was expecting, I got to say. And I don't know, again, maybe once I see the show, maybe I'll feel differently about it. But I got to say, for me, I was very underwhelmed with this trailer. And that's okay. We've all seen bad trailers end up having great movies or great TV shows. And we've all seen great trailers lead to bad movies and bad TV shows. But I got to say, I did not like the trailer. But Jonathan, you didn't mind this one.
I gotta say, you know, the aesthetic when we first saw shots of this months ago, like images, I was like, this looks like they're trying to lean too heavy into like literally 1962 Marvel animation style.
Right.
But when I saw this trailer, I realized, okay, actually, it's a little punched up. They're having like an homage to it, but then it has some. I mean, if you really watch it, it's got some cutty stuff. It looks like it's got some engaging animation, almost like Spider-Verse. Now, not on that level of quality and detail, but I just mean
Stylistically?
the stylistic and the way you're throwing edits, like swooping across screen and multi angles and stuff like that. I think it'll be pretty engaging. Now, whether its demographic is for younger kids, it may be. I may end up watching 1 or 2 episodes and being like, okay, I get what they're going for this, but I don't want to spend my time, even 20 minutes per episode, doing it.
I'm not the audience.
I'm not the audience. But I am not as turned off by it as you were. Actually, I was more turned off when I saw months ago the still images we got, and now I actually like it a little more.
Now that you see it in context?
I actually like that it's probably not going to be in the MCU, so it gives us some free reign in the storytelling, which is kind of refreshing. So I'm going to give it a shot. And you mentioned, okay, Harley Quinn, and then also you got Kite Man, and honestly, even Creature Commandos is like, it's not cutting edge.
We pointed that out too, right?
And Archer and all that stuff, but those are all great. And then we have something like What If, where it's fantastic art, but it's not that engaging. So I'd rather take the engaging.
Yeah, I mean, like, I love Archer.
Yeah.
The animation style is not one of the things I love about it. I just love it because it's so
exactly.
greatly written. And again, this might be the case with Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man as well. Like, okay, I may not like the animation style. It looks incredibly budget. But that doesn't mean the show won't be good.
Right.
That just moved on to the second part, that I didn't find the trailer itself. Like, forget the style. I didn't really like the trailer itself. Again, for me, it just felt like, oh, this is a show that's targeted at children.
I would like more of the story. This is like one of those things where it's like, this is kind of silly, and he's fighting some stupid kids in an alleyway. Give me the real story, and then it might become engaging.
Let's not forget it's a series too, so we might not get the full thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
so it might
that's
be
a very
a different
good point.
problem every week, like the old Spider-Man.
That could be cool.
I mean, so we'll see. I actually am completely opposite of John. I actually think the animation style is really cool. I'm not exposed to it as much as you guys are because I didn't watch Archer, but so it's something new to me. It's a new take. The only thing that bothered me is it's hard to get used to the guy's voice. I do see Tom Holland as being every Spider-Man now. You know what I mean? Or like at least one of the big three: Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, or Toby. If it was one of those, so it'll give me time. But that's a nitpick. I don't, he sounded fine. I mean, but we'll see.
I mean, he sounded like the 1960s kind of thing. By the way, Global in the live chat pointed out, he's basically saying, like, after Into the Spider-Verse, they should be ashamed of themselves for making this.
That's unfair.
Not really.
So let me just say that, yeah, it is funny that when in the whole Sony Spider versus Marvel Spider thing, this is one thing that Sony kicks Marvel's ass in, is the animation in Spider-Verse stuff looks infinitely better. But those are also movies with movie budgets. Give it a break a little.
Years to me.
Even within the movie verse, that's like saying, oh, Timothy Chalamet, he did this huge Dune 2, and then he comes out and he plays Bob Dylan with hardly any special effects. He should be ashamed.
Yeah, we understand. Like, that's why Harley Quinn. That's why Creature Commandos. That's why Invincible. That's why these shows don't have top shelf animation. It's because, they're making a show. They're trying to keep, the budgets are more modest.
Yeah.
Than say like Spider-Verse movies. So, but anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think about the Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man trailer? The opinions are probably as mixed as they are in this room. Like, we got somebody who really didn't like it. We got somebody who really liked it, and someone who's kind of in the middle about it. How do you feel about it? I'm sure the opinions are going to be all over the place. What were your expectations? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Charlie Cox is Daredevil now in the MCU. Whoop, whoop. And everybody's excited about it. Now, of course, our first exposure to him in this new Marvel verse is going to be in Daredevil Born Again, in which Marvel changed directions and decided to merge the Netflix series into their MCU. Remember, originally they were just going to make it that Charlie Cox was playing a new version of Daredevil, but they changed their minds, bringing it in. So that's going to be our first look at him. But now it looks like we're going to have our first real role. Remember, he did cameo in a couple of other things, but now we may have our first film that he's really going to be featured in a lot. Because according to Charlie Cox's trainer,
ex-trainer,
it might be ex-trainer now, Charlie Cox is prepping for a role in Avengers Doomsday. This comes to us from MovieWeb, who point out the social media post. There's a gym in Australia it's called Different, but it's spelled like DFRNT.
Different.
Different is the name of the gym. And I guess Charlie Cox has been, well, the folks at Different wanted to use this to promote their gym because they put out, this is from their social media today. There's Charlie Cox. They wrote the following. It's been awesome having Charlie and his wife, Sam Cox, in at Different over the past few weeks.
Different.
Charlie is currently training for his role in the upcoming Marvel Avengers movie where he will play Daredevil. It's been our absolute It's been our absolute pleasure working with you both, and we can't wait to watch you on the big screen. See you soon with their hashtag We Are Different.
Feige caught drinking.
Okay. Listen, it is very, very possible that they gave their blessing for him to break this.
Sure.
It's totally possible. Like, well, let's just, because every once in a while, Marvel makes announcements with huge Showtime lights, like when they brought out Robert Downey Jr. was going to be the new Doctor Doom, right? But we've also seen Marvel make announcements through the very low-key back channel kind of ways. It's happened before. I don't know that I believe this is one of those situations. I don't know that Kevin Feige got on the phone with the manager at Different. Say, hey, you want to do us a favor? Want to let the world know that Charlie Cox is going to be in Avengers Doomsday? Then again, at the same time, I don't know. Maybe this might be an oversight where they're like, oops, we forgot to get the gym to sign an NDA.
Could be.
Because listen, if you're a gym and you want to get big, high eyeballs on your business, you put up this picture and say, we're training the guy who's going to be in Avengers, everybody. Don't you want to come and train where the Avengers train?
Get that superhero bod.
Yeah. So I have a feeling. Now, listen, as of right now, let me see if it's still there. I wonder if they've pulled it. Let me go over to their actual. No, if you go to the, here it is. If you go to the Different Instagram page, they still got the picture up. They haven't pulled it down.
Wow.
Ain't never backing down. We're
No,
different.
Never back down. Look at the size of the coach. Who's Kevin? Who's going to go over and tell that guy to do anything? No, but seriously, I have no doubt that right now, Kevin Feige, number one, called Charlie Cox to say, did you tell this gym manager that they could post this? Or did you not have the gym manager sign an NDA before telling him what you were training for? And if they did not, well, then they're maybe making some polite calls to Different to maybe ask, well, it's too late to take it down. There's no point in taking it down now.
He's missing now.
He's missing. He's different. We miss differently. Oops.
Well,
Now-
you know what? Cat's out of the bag.
Cat's out of the bag. I mean, there's no point in having them pull it now because it's out there. There's literally no point.
Well, I guess it's not quite the same. I was going to say this kind of echoes the Denzel and
Ryan Coogler thing.
Ryan
When he mentioned
Coogler
that,
thing.
yeah, Ryan Coogler's writing a role
He's
for me in the next Black Panther.
Exactly.
What? Yeah. Do you see the Denzel statement after that? It's like,
Yeah.
that just kind of slipped out. I wasn't supposed to say that.
This is not Denzel, though.
No, but this guy's not
Yeah.
This is
Denzel.
different.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
What are you gonna do to Denzel Washington?
I mean, I'll put it this way. They could leak whoever's in Doomsday. I just want a good movie at this point.
Sure.
You know, I think
I'm
that's
sure
what
everybody feels that way.
Yeah, so like that's the way I feel about it. If Charlie Cox in it, great. But now I'm wondering, how is he gonna fit with all these superhumans?
But here's the bigger issue I wanted to bring up. Okay, all right, they let the cat out of the bag. Charlie Cox is big. Did anybody think he wasn't going to be in
Yeah.
Doomsday?
I mean, what's the point of having him in the MCU if you weren't going to
well, okay,
introduce him?
Doomsday's different, but Secret Wars was like, yeah, he's gonna be. in
Well,
that.
okay, I'm sorry. I did mean Secret
Yeah.
Wars.
but I think like Kevin Feige's alluded to the fact that the two upcoming Avengers movies are going to have like everybody. So with them now bringing Charlie Cox in, like, does anybody doubt that Ms. Marvel is going to be in the Avengers movies?
No.
Does anybody doubt that Shang-Chi is going to be in the Avengers movies?
What about Blade?
when maybe Blade might be the one that we're not so sure about.
They're gonna put his movie inside the Doomsday.
Yeah,
movie.
please,
As
a
a mini-
little. You
mini
know what's gonna
series.
be?
They're just watching Blade on TV.
You know how Pixar has the little short films?
Yeah,
before the
yeah,
main
yeah,
movie?
yeah,
It's gonna
yeah.
be
I'll take
before we
anything.
get to Avengers. Marvel presents Blade
I'll take
going
anything.
shopping.
You know, I kind of wonder. This is going to be pure speculation, but you know, we saw Charlie Cox as his lawyer, Peter Parker's lawyer,
yeah,
and he is now sans Iron Man, and not that he necessarily needs a mentor, but there could be a situation where he has a bit of like helping hand from Daredevil, that we see more Daredevil and Spider-Man together, and with the shock of seeing Doomsday, Doctor Doom looking like, you know, maybe it makes sense that Daredevil.
yeah.
is in
I
this.
mean, listen, with the faith-based stuff with Daredevil is where maybe he like counsels him. Like I look. We could speculate about this all we want. Look, we all knew there was going to be a lot of people in it. And if you had asked me this morning before I saw this story, hey, do you think Daredevil's going to be in the Avengers movies? I would have said yeah. All of you probably would have said yeah. So like maybe this was an oops, but really, is it anything people didn't already suspect?
No.
Is it anything that people didn't
It's not a
already
shock.
suspect?
It's not like, what?
Yeah. It's like, no, that's impossible. Now, if we didn't have Daredevil Born Again coming out on Disney Plus already,
That would
and
be
then
a
we
shock.
found that out, then this would be huge news,
Yeah.
Right.
But I think we all kind of suspected he was going to be in there anyway.
It'll probably be more shocking if they got what's his name? Agent Coulson
Yeah.
in one of them.
If,
He's
yeah,
coming
we got
back.
Clark
Yeah.
Gregg to appear, which, by the way, I would be all for Clark Gregg
I'll
making
tell
a
you,
return.
I kind of
If
miss him.
they're going to do this multiverse thing, give us Clark Gregg.
Give us Agent Coulson back.
Yeah.
He's been, I honestly think Agent Coulson, like between people like, what's Kat Dennings' character's name again?
Oh boy.
I can't remember.
Yes.
Meow Meow. But anyway,
Yeah.
Darcy? Is that her
Darcy,
name?
yes.
Darcy. So like between Darcy, I absolutely love Awkwafina's character in Shang-Chi. So between Darcy, Awkwafina, and Clark Gregg as Coulson.
and Agent Wu.
Yeah, and Agent Wu. But I mean, I think there's some real competition for the title of best supporting character in the MCU.
Yeah, there
I think
definitely
Agent
is.
Carter, though, Agent Coulson, Clark Gregg, is like the OG. He's
Yeah.
like the king of that. I would love to see him return. Anyway, we're getting off topic
I
from
know.
Charlie Cox.
He remains dead.
He remains dead. It's going to be interesting to see how they work. Oh, and Wong. How did I leave out Wong?
But
Wong's
Wong is
in everything.
more. Yeah, I feel like Wong is
in
a
everything,
glue
right?
to the MCU.
Other guys in the live chat mentioning Luis. Where was he?
Where is Luis?
Where was he
Just
in
his
Ant-Man
voice.
3?
Just his voice.
we're-
Just
I'm
give-
going way off.
I just want a guy, a man in chair, a woman in chair, like funny series that
Team up movie.
is fully aware of itself.
Call it the B team.
Yeah, and it's fully aware of itself, but just have fun with it.
So anyway,
Yeah.
no big shock and surprise, although I do believe Different is probably getting a few phone calls about maybe Charlie won't be allowed to train there anymore. I don't know. We'll find out.
Rest in peace, Charlie.
Rest in peace, Starfriend.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The trainer just kind of let it slip that he's training Charlie Cox to be in the Avengers movies. So that's one thing. But I mean, again, did any of us think he wasn't going to be there? Anyway,
Was
whatever
training.
you guys think about this,
Ruined it.
jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, listen, we got a couple of other things to talk about. First of all, I mean, surprise, surprise, Matt Reeves' Batman is delayed again, this time by a full year. And the worst kept secret in all of entertainment, Jason Momoa, today made it official. He is, as most of us suspected, the new Lobo. We're going to talk about those topics and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take just a quick second here and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Miracle Made. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Miracle Made. Guys, it's hot outside and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. So if you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. There are just so many things that make these sheets so fantastic. We already mentioned the self-cooling properties for better quality sleep, but they're also self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. So go to trymiracle.com/Campea. That's TRYMIRACLE.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. And thank you to our friends at Miracle Made for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's talk about this, shall we? If you're waiting for the Batman 2, you're going to be waiting a while longer. Unsurprising news broke this weekend from Variety that the Batman 2, Matt Reeves' upcoming Batman 2, has been pushed a full year back to 2027, which for those of you keeping score will mean it's going to be about 5.5 years between the two Batman films. And our viewer, the Batman, just put in a super chat badge.
Yep.
In there.
Rage quit.
Rage quit. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety. Again, their headline, The Batman 2 delayed to 2027. All right, it says, moviegoers will have to wait a little longer to return to Gotham City, as Matt Reeves' follow-up to The Batman has been pushed back until 2027. The superhero sequel was originally supposed to open on October 2nd, 2026. Actually, that's not true. It was originally supposed to open in 2025. It then got pushed to 2026. And now, as Variety writes, but will now shift a year and open on October 1st, 2027 in IMAX, Warner Brothers announced on Friday. All right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, I believe, had a sequel 2 years later. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, didn't Spider-Man 2 come out 2 years?
Let's see.
After that? Christopher Nolan managed to get his Batman films out 3 years apart. Now we're going to be waiting 5.
Oops.
There's a couple of different ways to look at this. First of all, I'm bummed. I'm bummed. I love Matt Reeves' The Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that movie. I thought it was just spectacular, and I've been really looking forward to seeing a follow-up.
It was 2 years. Sorry.
It was 2 years between Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. All right. I've been extremely psyched for it. I've been wanting to see it. Okay, whatever. It is what it is. We got to remember, too, the original Batman also had a couple of delays. It did not hit its original. Actually, it was delayed a couple of times. Once was because of COVID production issues. Totally understandable. Lots of films had those delays. But then it got delayed again. And the rep on Matt Reeves around town is he's awesome, but he's slow.
You try running a show and writing a movie.
Yeah, you trying to do the John Campea Show and write a new movie. It's difficult.
It's tough, man.
But I mean, the word is like that's been his MO for a long time. Is that he's basically George R.R. Martin 2.0.
He'll write it eventually.
Yeah, I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it. By the way, then the initial excuse for this movie that was supposed to come out in 2025 was, writer strike delays, actor strike delays, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you know what? I get that. Sure. A lot of movies got those delays. All of those other movies have come out in theaters already. They all face the same delays. So they pushed it to 2026, and now it's pushed to late 2027. And I had a few people writing to me over the weekend. Ann and I were off in Vegas this weekend. Went to go watch USC win the Vegas Bowl against Texas A&M. But we were out there, and I had a bunch of people texting me and asking me, what's Warner Brothers' problem? What's Warner Brothers doing this? I'll tell you right now, this is not a Warner Brothers issue. This is a Matt Reeves issue, who I love. Don't get me wrong. And this is not a let's trash on Matt Reeves commentary at all. I love Matt Reeves, but I mean, this is his MO, right? He's literally had, as far as we understand, there's not even a completed script yet.
Oh.
From when he finished making, not from when it came out, but from when he finished making the first Batman, it's been 3 years. He's taken on a load of producer responsibilities and a bunch of other projects. Why do you not have time to finish the script? And I'm sorry, but when you're somebody as talented as Matt Reeves, it does not take 3 years to write a script. It's now a race, Ray, to see what comes out first.
That's what I was gonna say.
Blade or Batman 2?
They might as well announce him as the director of Blade. Then it'll all make sense.
That would be awesome. Batman 2 is delayed because Matt Reeves is directing
Decides to take on
Blade.
Blade.
He's coming out directing Blade. Now, look, at the end of the day, the main thing is that we get a great movie. Absolutely, 100%. And I have, being Matt Reeves, and after what he's done with the Batman and how he set up the Penguin and all that kind of stuff, I have little doubt that he's going to deliver a great movie. And at the end of the day, that's what's important. But I do not believe that it's an either or proposition. I don't believe you either have a movie come out in a reasonable time frame or you get a movie that's good. I think you can have both. I don't want them to rush, but it's going to be 5.5 years in between that. I believe you can deliver a high quality, great film in a reasonable amount of time, not rushed, and have it be magnificent. Again, going back to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, to Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 still considered today to be one of the greatest comic book movies of all time. Now, our friend Jeff Snyder, who has broken some of the biggest stories in the last couple of years, he actually was mentioning that there may be some personal issues going on with Matt Reeves. Okay. That would make sense. I get that. And I don't mean to sound unsympathetic. Although, even though I say that, it's going to come across as sounding unsympathetic, but I don't mean it to. Have these personal issues been dragging on for 4 years? I'm just wondering, when are we going to get this, Matt? Again, Matt Reeves is the new George R.R. Martin. And George R.R. Martin makes gold. And so does Matt Reeves.
I mean, was the Batman ever supposed to have a sequel? Was it like the Joker? When at first it was just supposed to be a one-off?
Yeah, no, they had eyes on it to be a potential franchise.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't like Joker, where like when they made the first Joker is, hey everybody, this is a one-shot movie. No sequels for this.
And then
The only thing is that movie went on to make $1 billion and won Oscars.
right.
And so they were like, well, maybe we should do a second one. Turns out they shouldn't have. But like the Batman was always kind of planned that, hey, yeah, this could be a franchise if it's successful. And it clearly was successful.
And that makes him more disappointing then, that he didn't have something ready, or at least in his head. Maybe there is. I'm gonna give the guy benefit. I mean, he probably had some personal problems, but yeah, it is disappointing. I didn't realize it was that long since the first Batman. It's been that long, so yeah.
2022.
Yeah, 2022 when it came out. And it's going to be 5.5 years now from when it does come out, if it comes out in 2027. Now, one of the biggest drawbacks of delays like this, and I know I'm thinking very, very long-term and very, very big picture, but when you delay, when you have 5.5 years in between movies, it means ultimately in the grand scheme of things, we're going to get fewer movies in this franchise. I mean, you're just running out of time. And I'm not even sure we're going to get that third film that they've been talking about now.
And we'll probably get the James Gunn Batman before this.
I would put money that we will get Brave and the Bold, the James Gunn, the DCU Batman. I would put money on that we're going to get before 2027.
And then there's a thing about that. If that one's really good, if people attach themselves to this new Batman, what happens to this other Batman?
Oh, I don't think audiences will be confused.
I think they'll know.
I mean,
the
will the hype be gone for
I don't
the
think
second?
so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I used to worry about stuff like that, and then it got proved that, you know what, no. I mean, I do believe they should have struck a little more when the iron was a bit hotter. But again, you know what? With movies like Mickey 17 coming out and Robert Pattinson's career just getting bigger and bigger, I mean, I think an argument can be made that Robert Pattinson is going to be a bigger star when the second Batman movie comes out than he was when the first Batman movie
and now you've proved audiences this Pattinson thing, like, oh, Twilight boy, like
Yeah.
that's out the window.
Yeah, that's gone now. Like everybody
So-
understands that now. So,
And it does buy James Gunn some more time to continue developing the DCU.
but I mean, does one have anything to do with the other?
Well,
Like, when-
I don't know
when
if Matt Reeves, maybe it does.
Yeah, maybe it does. I mean, maybe James Gunn gave Matt Reeves some more responsibilities in the DCU
That's
main
what I'm wondering.
timeline.
That's what I'm wondering.
I don't know. All I know is that at the end of the day, yes, as long as the movie's great, that's the number one priority. And yes, none of us want them to rush it. But 5.5 years is beyond not rushing it. I just think we could have got one sooner. And that just tells you how much I like Matt Reeves' movie, that I'm sitting here doing a pouty party over the fact that we're going to have to wait longer for.
Because if it wasn't that great, you'd be like, well, maybe they can work some things out.
Yeah, maybe, they need time to fix all the problems.
Yeah.
So, there's that. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you guys think about this? It's going to be a 5.5 year wait in between the first Batman and the second Batman, as we've experienced a delay from 2025 to 2026, and now a delay from 2026 to 2027. Whatever you guys say. And do you think we're going to get James Gunn's DCU Batman before we get Batman 2? Hell, I'll even throw it out there. Do you think we might get Blade before we get a Batman 2?
No.
Yeah, right.
Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Jason Momoa has officially confirmed that he is now Lobo. Now, many of you guys will remember, it's got to be 2 years ago now?
I think so.
We
We were in the other studio.
We were still in the other studio. I think it was like 2 years ago. My sense of time is really bad, but we covered that story right after James Gunn took over the DC brand.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Momoa posted a video of himself coming out of the Warner Brothers campus,
Giddy as a schoolboy.
like practically exploding with giddiness and joy. He was practically skipping. Guys, I just had the greatest. Like, he was freaking out, like with pure joy about this meeting he had just had with James Gunn and Peter Safran. Right? And everybody was like, oh, did they just confirm? Did they just say, hey, yeah, we're starting a new DCU, but you'll still get to be Aquaman? None of us believed that. But then the big one was everybody speculated Jason Momoa should play Lobo. I mean, Jason Momoa had written in the past before that he would love to play Lobo. So maybe he just got told he's ultimately going to be Lobo. Well, months, days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, months turned into years. What did they say in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, myth
Legends
turns into
became
legend.
myth.
Legend. Yeah, I forget the order.
Legends
but
became myth, about it. Well, now, according to Deadline, Jason Momoa is going to be Lobo in the upcoming Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie.
Well.
They wrote the following. Said Jason Momoa, star of Warner Brothers and DC's Aquaman films, has been tapped to play Lobo in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Now, this is the social media post that he did. Jason Momoa put up a screenshot of an old post he put up. This was the old post. So Lobo was, I collect comics and I don't do so much anymore, but he was always my favorite and I always wanted to play Lobo because I'm like, hello, it's the perfect role, he said. I mean, listen, if they call and ask me to play him, it's a fuck yeah. I haven't received that call, so I don't want to put any fake news out there. But if they ever call me and ask me to play or ask me to audition, I'm there. So that's the screenshot. His little write up to that was they called. That's the new post.
Yeah.
They called.
I think they found him at different gym.
Just don't train at different,
Did
and we're good.
different gym movie news .fart.
Now look, everybody has thought. Here's one of the again. Take a look at this.
Sure.
This is one of those classic.
Yeah,
pictures.
yeah.
I mean, look, I'm one of these guys. I know this is not the popular opinion, but it's often lonely being right. Where having an actor already just naturally look like the character is important. I don't think that's important at all. But there is no denying when you look like at a picture of Lobo and you think, who could that be? Oh, I like this. Ritu in the live chat saying, different Lobo.
Exactly.
When you look at this picture of Lobo, you cannot help but see Jason Momoa.
Loboa.
Momo
Jason
Lobo.
Loboa.
Momo Lobo.
You got it? Got it. Take it. Take it. Take
Uh,
it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's the Laboa. That's the new phrase for this one. Ray Orr just coined it.
Maboa.
That's
Laboa.
so stupid.
Jason Laboa. So Laboa, I mean, look, even when you look at the personality of Lobo,
Oh yeah.
tell me Jason Momoa isn't a perfect fit for that.
He fit more. Like, I accepted his Aquaman. I did.
I loved him as Aquaman.
The
Honestly, I
Aqua
did
Bro
too.
thing was cool, and it was different because a lot of people were like, Aquaman, that's kind of silly. But let's face it, like you're insinuating, like, he was a better Lobo.
I mean, look, I even loved the whole drop down with Cyborg, my man.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody else says.
All right.
I thought that was great. I thought it was a great line for the way they fit that character. But it's just when you look at Jason Momoa and his natural charm, his natural personality, his natural kind of wit, this is just a good fit. And look, that's why when he came out of that meeting a couple of years ago, I can't believe how excited I am.
Yeah.
We all kind of clued in, like we all suspected this meant Lobo. I mean, I thought there was a chance it might have been Batman. Don't laugh at me. I actually thought there could have been a chance that you'd have to cut his hair and everything, which is something I don't think he'd ever do. But even then, I really thought if I had to put $10 on it, we all kind of thought maybe it could be Lobo.
Yeah.
Now it's
think
finally confirmed,
Lobo
and I
would-
love it.
There was at that time there was like the rumor mill of like, oh, some of these characters are going to be in the DCU. So there was a part of me that was like, oh, maybe they're going to have Aquaman and he's going to carry into the DCU in some fashion. But this makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the common theories out there that some people thought that, oh, just like Peacemaker is going to be there, Jason Momoa's Aquaman.
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought that was a little bit too, like with Peacemaker, there's a lot of wiggle room because really there was, other than that little cameo at the end, there's really no connection between him and the DC, the old DCEU
Right.
too much.
Right.
Aquaman, very, very different. Plus, we never really thought Jason Momoa would be that excited about, oh, hey, you get to do Aquaman 3.
You got an extension.
Yeah, getting an extension. Basically, right? I just don't see. I never thought that Jason Momoa would literally come out skipping
Right.
and literally glowing
Right.
because I just found out I'm going to get to do part 3. That kind of excitement seemed to be something that would be connected to something new.
Right.
And
Well, we see how he reacts to getting a wish that he wanted.
yeah,
How his face. I mean, interesting thing. I noticed that Lobo actually has a dog. I was bringing this up to you guys earlier, and he has an English bulldog named Dog.
spelt,
DAWG.
which of course he has a dog named
My dog.
And he throws this dog to attack people.
So now what we need
Now I'm saying,
is Superman versus Lobo with Crypto versus Dog.
I'm glad you brought that up. He's going to be a part of the Supergirl movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Supergirl
true.
movie.
That's true.
Meaning the angle will probably be crap. I forgot what the episode was called.
Oh, by the way, Brandon Coast in live chat said the dog's name should be Hobo. Hobo and Lobo. I like that.
Okay.
I don't know the Lobo lore that well. Is there a connection with Supergirl? Because I know he's just a different timeline from Superman.
Well, he's crossed over with Superman many times.
Yeah.
Right. And all the very different variations. And I'm sure there's been a Supergirl one. I just honestly don't
Yeah.
know it myself.
I'm
either.
sure James Gunn knows it.
But I remember, this is a dude that can go toe to toe with Superman.
Sure.
Yep. The anti-hero.
So, I mean, you can work that in really cool. He's kind of, some people said he's like a DC version of Deadpool. I see him more of a DC, in a way, personality-wise, a little bit of a DC version of Wolverine in a way. But,
Right.
I mean, that's not actually a really good comparison either, to be
My
honest
question
with you.
is, do you think he'll include his dog? James Gunn, man. I think so.
You know what?
I think so.
I'm going to say no.
Oh,
You know why?
why?
Because Crypto.
Yeah, he'll probably
Yeah,
outside.
I think since they've already got the dog thing covered, I
Right.
think because we got Crypto, and Crypto, I mean, Crypto's one of the first characters we meet in the Superman trailer.
Yeah.
I think that will make them go, okay, we've already done too much dog, but I like it. Don't put it past James Gunn. Don't put it past James Gunn. But I mean, now we know it is official. What made James Gunn so happy, or what made Jason Momoa or Jason Laboa so happy coming out of that meeting with James Gunn? James Gunn told him he's going to be Lobo. And so, you know what? We've been all saying this for years. You guys have been saying it. We've been saying it. It's great casting. That doesn't mean the movie's going to be any good. It doesn't mean, or that him in the role necessarily may not be written well. They may not do a good job. We don't know. But as far as just the job of the casting people goes, this is perfection.
Yeah.
This is perfect. He was born for this. I think all the fans have kind of been expecting it as well. So I think this is very, very good news. Listen, James, they haven't put out a single damn thing yet other than Creature Commandos, which people seem to be liking very much.
I'm liking more and more.
This has been a pretty good month for James Gunn.
Yes.
Super well received Creature Commandos. People generally love the Superman trailer, and now people are going to love this news too. James Gunn is putting a lot of coins in his pocket right now.
Yep.
So now he's got to do the hard part and deliver. We'll see. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this news? It's official. James Gunn has let it, or Jason Momoa or Loboa has now let the cat out of the bag. It's official. He's going to be Lobo. And Deadline is telling us it's going to be in the upcoming Supergirl movie, which we are going to get before the Batman 2. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's get on to the most important stuff here. Your opinions on all this. What are your thoughts, theories, opinions, questions, or topics you have? We're going to get to those in just a second, but before we do, we're going to take another moment here and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. Appropriate as we're getting ready to head into the NFL playoff season, our friends over at PrizePicks. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, PrizePicks. Are you guys like me, both a movie and a sports fan? Well, if so, then you know that the playoffs are here and it's now or never. If you love football and want to add some real excitement to the games, let me tell you about PrizePicks, the best place for your daily fantasy sports. So here's how it works. It's super simple. You just pick more or less on player projections. Think Patrick Mahomes will throw more than 1.5 touchdowns this week, or maybe Lamar Jackson will get over 250 passing yards. Make your picks in less than a minute and take your shot at winning up to 1,000 times your cash. Ann and I have been having a blast using PrizePicks every weekend. It's simple, it's fun, and it just makes watching the games that much more exciting. Plus, PrizePicks puts you first. With easy, fast, secure withdrawals, you can get your winnings in as little as 15 minutes, and they make deposits even easier. And right now, if you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So don't wait. Download the app today and use the code CAMPEA to get $50 instantly after playing your first $5 lineup. That's right, play for just $5 and you get a $50 bonus instantly. PrizePicks, run your game. And thank you to our friends at PrizePicks for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to the most important stuff. Your perspectives here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
Say Said Soy says, here's the perfect casting, everybody. Matt Smith as Voldemort, Tom Hiddleston and Lord Benedict Cumberbatch as Snape, Nick Frost as Hagrid, Tilda Swinton as McGonagall, Paul Bettany as Lupin, and Idris Elba as, Pierce Brosnan as Dumbledore. Oh, I could see a Pierce Brosnan as Dumbledore. Christian Bale as Sirius Black. I don't know about that one, though.
I'm not, look,
I'm not against Nick Frost on anything.
I'm not really into X actor and X role,
because any of those could be.
But I gotta tell you what, I like all those picks.
Yeah, they could all fit.
I really like. Bring that
The
one up again.
Oh, sorry.
Matt
The
Smith.
one that really stood out to me personally is actually the Pierce Brosnan as Dumbledore.
Pierce Brosnan would be a great Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Nick Frost as Hagrid. I love
Tilda that.
Swinton as McGonagall might be my favorite one. I mean, honestly, out of all the Harry Potter roles, replacing Dame Maggie Smith is going to be the hardest one. That's the hardest one.
Oh, yeah.
Tilda Swinton as McGonagall is not a bad idea. Anyway, I probably won't be any of those, but I like all the picks.
And now I want to see Pierce Brosnan as the damn
As Dumbledore. All right, what's next?
All right. Anonymous says, regarding your pet peeve with people letting multiple people die just to save their loved ones, I think of this line from Interstellar: we can care deeply, selflessly for those we know, but that empathy rarely extends beyond our line of sight.
Yeah. So what he's talking about is, we were talking about the movie, the Netflix film Carry On, which is pretty good. And I said, one of the things I said about the movie is that it's hard to feel too sympathetic for the main character when he makes the decision that I'm going to do what I need to do to save my girlfriend, knowing that I'm willingly putting the lives of hundreds of people on that plane, are probably going to die. Now, to his credit, the character tries to save both, right? I just brought up that generally in movies as a whole, that's one that I can, again, I'm not saying that any of us would be able to do differently. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that's one of the things that often stands out to me, but that's a really good comparison with that line in Interstellar.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
Oh, we got, did he just say that? Says, hi, John and crew. Wow, you really went off on the Sony Pictures CEO statement, just saying maybe he had a vision that if he didn't blame the critics, 3 spider-themed superheroes would throw him from his apartment window in the future. Happy New Year.
But again, look, some of you have heard me say this. Of all the problems with Madam Web, and there are legion of problems with Madam Web, but of all of them, I think the biggest one that stood out to me, and I have mentioned this before, but those who haven't heard me say this, was the whole movie is based on the premise that this villainous spider guy has a vision in his dreams that sometime in the future, a very specific dream, that these 3 superpowered spider women are going to show up at his apartment and kill him by throwing him out the window. 2 problems. Problem number 1 is the smaller nitpick problem, which is there is a minimum of 3 different times in the movies where we literally see you jump off a building and land no problem. So why is you getting thrown out a window suddenly going to be the thing that kills you? Whatever. That's the smaller issue. Here's the bigger issue. Again, the whole movie is based on the fact that this guy has this very specific dream that these 3 women will break into his apartment and throw him out of the window to kill him. Fucking move.
Do you know how hard it is to find an apartment in New York?
It's very difficult, very expensive, but if your life is on the line, if your vision very clearly shows you that it is this apartment that these 3 women will break into and kill you, you know what? Maybe it's time to move to Boston. Maybe it's time to go down to Mexico. Or maybe it's time to move down to floor 17. Just change apartments, and there you go. No. What I really need to do is embark on this overly complicated plot to murder people and steal government technology where I can face track people and accurately predict what those girls will look like in about 10 years or 15. No. I can't move. I love this apartment. I had my pet dog, DAWG, live in this apartment with me, and I have 2 fond special memories. Anyway, again, many problems with Madam Web. That's just the one that always killed me the most.
You should have teamed up with Craven.
Should have done it. All right, what's next
Baby
up?
Boy says, I know nothing's perfect, but Shrinking is damn near close. I absolutely love this show. The cast, the story, the comedic timing, etc. So damn near perfect. Only 2 seasons in, and it's one of my favorite shows of all time.
You know what? I am going to make, because I don't think I've actually ever done a specific video about Shrinking. We bring up Shrinking a lot on this show because it is simply one of the finest television shows. You know what? I'm not even going to say one of the finest television shows out right now. I think it's one of the finest television shows ever made. This show, it's a masterpiece.
Clearly, you've never seen The Greatest American Hero.
I love Greatest American Hero. Shrinking is, man, it's a very different type of show than, say, Shogun, Last of Us,
big time,
House of the Dragon. It's a very different kind of show. It stands very separate from all those because it's also comedy, but it is simply, Ann and I watched the season finale, and I went back and forth between laughing hysterically and tearing up. And I think I need to finally sit down and make a standalone video just of why you guys have to watch Shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
It is simply one of the best shows of this nature that I've ever seen. That's a true cross between very dramatic and extremely hilarious comedy. It's simply one of the best. If you're not watching Shrinking, you are absolutely missing out. It's one of the best things on television in a long time. Go and watch. Harrison Ford, I stand by this, hasn't been this good in at least a decade. maybe 2. It's one of his best roles ever. And Jason Segal's amazing. The entire supporting cast is phenomenal. You got to watch Shrinking. You guys just, you know what? Lady Hotep is asking a very, very good question. Is it better than Ted Lasso? The other amazing, incredible show on Apple TV Plus. After the finale of season 2, I am ready to say that Shrinking is better than Ted Lasso. And you guys know how much I love Ted Lasso. I love that show. Can't wait for them to do their next season. But Shrinking is the better show. They're both great. They're both awesome. I love that we live in a world that we have both. But Shrinking is the better show. It's just that good. Go check it out, guys. All right, what's next?
Christian says, hey, John, I stopped watching Disney Plus shows after many disappointments, but I was convinced to watch Agatha and now Skeleton Crew. Wow, episode 5 was amazing. I'm loving this show. Hope it sticks the landing, paving the way for future Disney Plus shows to come.
Yeah, listen, Disney Plus shows, I mean, they've been the very definition of hit and miss, right? Some have been great. Some have been just terrible. Too many have been okay, right? But Disney Plus is on a little tiny winning streak right now. Agatha all along was a big winner. And now, listen, Skeleton Crew is just fabulous. Just fabulous. I'm loving this show more than I thought that I would. And hopefully Disney Plus can keep this up. Because again, at best, they've been hit and miss, particularly with their Star Wars and Marvel shows. Some good, some not so good, a lot of them in the middle. But they've got 2 in a row now that have been pretty darn solid. So I cannot wait for. Are they putting out a new episode tomorrow?
I think so.
On New Year's
right?
Eve?
Is it Tuesdays or is it Wednesdays?
I think it's Tuesdays.
Okay.
I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I think it's Tuesdays. Anyway. All right. I'll look forward to seeing that.
All right.
All right. What's next?
Christian says, also watched Carry On, but felt it got Netflixified. Enjoyed it overall, but felt the opening ending were the weakest. I really hated the slow start. There was a middle hour that was awesome, but to me, that means this film could have used more iterations.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think the overall, when you sit back and look at the overall package that is Carry On, I thought it was quite good, and I enjoyed it. Very rare for a Netflix original movie. But that doesn't mean I don't agree with you that there are it took quite a while to get into where we needed to be. I thought there were points that the filmmaker wanted the audience to understand that could have been done much faster. I think there were points of it dragging. And there's no doubting there's some very big logic question marks in the movie as well. That being said, I still thought the overall package was really fun. And I enjoyed it, and I hope they make another one. All right, what's next?
Duck has a 2-parter. Buenos tardes. Going through my poster from last week, I decided to watch Doctor Strangelove next. It was really interesting, a lot of symbolism and a lot more I probably missed. I like how the government was so much power and control. It was crazy to see how something so small ended with the end of the world. It has some very pretty shots and fun score. With all that said, I never want to watch this movie ever again because I was so bored. Wow. The comedy was not even close to hitting, unfortunately.
What's the full title of the movie again? Doctor Strangelove and How I Stopped Worrying
and Learned to Love the Bomb.
Learned to Love the Bomb. That's what it was.
I love the movie.
I mean, we actually did a big section in our documentary on movie trailers, A Love Story, specifically on the Doctor Strangelove trailer and how it is. I'm with Jonathan on this. I actually kind of now. Does Doctor Strangelove age well? Because what's the Allen movie, the classic Woody Allen movie, the comedy with Diane Keaton? Why am it won? I think it won Best Picture over Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Why am I freezing on the name of it? I'm telling you who's in it, and I'm forgetting.
Annie Hall.
Annie Hall totally ages well. You can watch that movie today and laugh as hard as if you watched it when it first came out.
It's because it's a roadmap to the modern rom-com.
It really is. It kind of set the parameters for it, right? Mm-hmm. I will admit that Doctor Strangelove doesn't age as well. Like a person watching it for the first time today, it won't hit as well as maybe it has in the past.
Sure.
But I still think it's a great classic. I really do. All right, what's next?
We got Nostradamus follower says, can't believe no one's talking about this. 5 years ago, Jason Mewes predicted one of the best film news ever. Spoiler for Madness in the Method, which was Mewes' 2019 directorial debut. Adaptation of Odyssey is a plot point near the end, it's revealed Nolan will direct. I'm gonna have to look that. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Who would have ever thought that would come from Jason Mewes?
I know, right? It's kind of feels like when The Simpsons predicts things like oddly.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about Jason Mewes?
Hmm.
You meet, and I guess this shouldn't have been surprising because when you watch Kevin Smith in stuff, that's Kevin Smith off camera as well.
Sure.
Like, I don't know why, but I always expected Jason Mewes to be different off camera than he is on.
Not really.
No.
Not really.
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to meet him a couple of times, and he's just that bubbly. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just him. Which
He
is kinda
almost
fun.
he almost ran me over with one of those bird scooters at Comic-Con once.
Really?
Remember where we used to do the meet and greet at the Odyssey Hotel? It was like across the train tracks.
Right.
I was
Right.
walking out and he was going in on one of those birds and almost ran me over. He was nice though. He was cool about it.
All right, what's next?
Kylo Bren says, with Wicked making so much money and the critical acclaim, and assuming Wicked 2 does the same, will the studio consider continuing the Wicked verse and make a new Wizard of Oz? This cast reunites, and I can't get Ariana DeBose as Dorothy out of my head.
Ariana DeBose would be a great Dorothy. Number one, because I think she's just a great actress, but she is a phenomenal singer. She won an Academy Award for West Side Story, which she was absolutely amazing in. And Craven isn't her fault. I don't see them remaking Wizard of Oz. Let's say the second film makes even more money than the first one does. And by the way, the first movie, Wicked, is going to get nominated for Best Picture. And I got no problems with that. It's a great movie. I don't think it is the best picture of the year, but it absolutely deserves a nomination. Tomorrow, when I do my top 10 best movies of the year list, spoiler, Wicked is going to be on it. It's a phenomenal film. But let's say Wicked 2 does as good or even better at the box office than the first Wicked does. I could see them extending it out, but I don't think extending it out to remaking Wizard of Oz. I can see them doing another, maybe a little Harry Potter, and doing a story that revolves around Shiz, the magical school. I could see them maybe doing a story about one of the secondary characters. So yeah, I could see them maybe expanding it out and doing a little bit of a Wicked verse, but I don't think they'll remake Wizard of Oz. Now, I might be wrong about that, but you're asking me, and that's my guess right now. All right, what's next?
Tito the Hunter says, after going to on your Sony rant yesterday, what are some things that you think could save the studio from dying? It seems their problems are bigger than Spider-Man, especially hearing the It Ends With Us drama.
Well, I mean, the It Ends With Us drama could have happened at any studio. That wasn't a studio issue, right? So you can take that one off the table. The fact of the matter is Sony does well in a lot of other things, right? Like, again, everybody wants to forget that they do the Spider-Verse movies, and they're great, and they've had a couple of other big hits as well. I mean, I don't think they're struggling as much as people like to think. And again, got to remind everybody that when you look at all the Spider-Verse movies that Sony has done, starting with Venom and ending in Craven, the math is the math. They're profitable. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we did the math on the show. We added up the numbers. Sony, when you take all of those movies, Venom's 1, 2, and 3, Spider-Verse's 1 and 2, Morbius, Madam Web, and Craven, Sony's actually profitable. They actually made money on that. Some of them lost money, some of them made money, but when you average it all out, they made close to $1 billion in profit overall. I know it's crazy to think about, but fortunately, that CEO is going to be gone very soon. And he's getting replaced with a new CEO that hopefully has a better vision.
Bob Chapek.
Because if that guy was staying, I would have very little hope for their future. But he's going to be gone, and we'll be moving on. All right, what's next?
Tiny Viking says, hey, John and crew, hot take here, but I really don't like reserved seating at movie theaters. I bought seats ahead of time for Nosferatu, and in the theater, someone was sitting in my seat. It happens often, and I always feel like a jerk asking them to move. I will take that moment of uncomfortableness over having to find a seat.
I will take that 50 days out of 50 days.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, lucky me, I've never had a situation where I've showed up in a movie and somebody was in my seat. I have had it happen at sporting events with Big Red. Oh, I just showed my ticket. I think you're in my seat. Oh, so sorry. And they get up and move seats. As opposed to the other drawback, I'll just go back. I can't remember which Wolverine movie it was. It was when, it was still under Fox. It wasn't Logan. It was before Logan. But I still remember, this wasn't the only time. I'm just using this as an example, right? It was opening day for a Wolverine movie. And I had to go to the movie theater fucking an hour and a half to 2 hours early just to stand in a line. So hopefully I would get a seat that wasn't a front seat nosebreaker. And I'm outside sitting on the concrete for an hour, hour and a half, waiting to get lit in. And that was regular movie going life.
Yeah.
When every other country in the world had already had pre-reserved seating in their movie theaters. When everything else we go to, the theater, sporting events, concerts, airplanes, unless you're flying Southwest. Airplanes, when you buy a ticket, you know where your seat is. This whole archaic, barbaric idea of, buy a movie, do a ticket, and who knows where you're going to be sitting. Guess you better come an hour early or 2 hours early or 3 hours early, depending on the movie. Sit on your ass. And then maybe you'll be lucky you're not sitting in the front row doing this. Or heaven help you if you're going with a group of 5 or 6 friends. We often do. Guess you better get there 4 hours early to make sure you can find a place where you actually have 5 seats together.
Yeah.
And it created that whole bullshit thing, especially in Canada, where it's like, okay, you showed up to the movie and you got there early and you go in and somebody who got in before you laid out their coats over 7 seats because they're saving the seats for their friends. Fuck you. It is barbaric. It is backward. It is primeval. It is stupid. The idea of not having, and all that, and your absolute worst case scenario is, oh, hey, dude, you're in my seat.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take that.
I still
every day.
Hey, I'm still traumatized from saving 18 seats at the Chinese theater for Phantom Menace. So.
Oh my God. Yeah, I remember having to tell friends of mine, like I got my tickets. I remember for Phantom Menace, and friends of mine, oh, save me seats. I'm like, no, I'm not going to be that guy. Yeah. I'm not, because I used to do it. I used to hate it because I hate that I stretch my coat over 3 seats, and people who are there, who are in the theater now trying to get seats, and that look they would give me is, I'm sorry, I'm saving me seats. Sorry. I refuse to be that guy anymore. I never understood, like back when I was doing the movie blog, like today, my thing is trailers before movies. But back during the movie blog, one of my big things, I made several editorial videos about this, about how North American theaters have to catch up with the rest of the world and have pre-assigned seating. And I could not believe how many times I have people going, no, I don't want pre-assigned seating. And you know what one of the biggest arguments made to me was? One of the dumbest things.
Oh, I know. Go ahead.
It was, what if you get to your seat and there's gum in your seat? Well, then,
that would suck.
Or what if you get to your seat and somebody threw up in the seat? That happens a lot. Okay, let's say that even that did. Get up and move to an empty seat. Well, what if the movie theater is sold out? Well, if the movie theater was sold out and the only seat left was one with gum in it, it would still be a sold out movie theater even if there wasn't pre-assigned seating. So the pre-assigned seating doesn't create the problem. And really, the one argument is, what if there's barf in your seat?
People wouldn't even want to sit around it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in the theater.
You would smell it.
But anyway, so yes. I mean, and like movie in the live chat put it right. It's just that people just don't like change. I get that. But no. We should never go back.
I'll tell you,
ArcLight not having pre-assigned seats.
ArcLight was a revelation to me. Theaters. Yeah. I never went anywhere else but ArcLight until other people adapted it to it. So.
All right. What's next?
We got about $55 in a 4-parter about about MCU Hulk. Here we go.
Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate that, man. That's incredibly generous of you, dude.
Yeah, Dennis the Menace to Society 4-parter says, hello, John and Happy Crew. Been a very long time fan since way back in 2012.
Oh, thank you, man.
That's even before my day. I'm excited and really can't wait for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. After the major Avengers 2-part storyline, I brainstormed and thought of the next major Avengers level storyline. Hear me out. World War Hulk. To me, this sounds perfect. We need a way to redeem the Hulk character after Hawaiian shirt wearing bad one-liners and barbecuing Hulk, which we all hate. This is the perfect way, part 3, to the Hulk character. This is where Hulk loses the woman who gave birth to Scar when Bruce fuses himself with different types of gamma radiation in order to make himself better, but instead made him gray, meaner, and angrier, then declares war on everyone with a belief that all the people on Earth are to blame for the death of Hulk's lover. World War Hulk storyline doesn't have to follow everything from the comic. Do you see this story as the next Avengers event after Secret Wars?
It's going to be difficult for them to do it after they've muffed Hulk so much. I loved Hulk in the MCU. But Professor Hulk, it's just neutered Hulk so much. I mean, literally, Hulk went from the entire key of Loki's plan was that you've got the monster. You brought a monster on board. And like that was the thing, that Hulk was the ultimate nuclear option. And to the point that even Tony Stark is, yeah, you got alien army, you got all this stuff. We've got a Hulk. They went from that to Hulk just being another guy who runs into the fight and he's a strong guy. And I mean, I was really hoping in Endgame, although I didn't want to take away from the main storyline, that in Endgame, as the big final battle was happening, to see Hulk wrecking shop. And they didn't. And then we got Hulk attending family barbecues in a Hawaiian shirt with his fucking bull-headed cut son. That just came out of nowhere, right? All that is to say that I would love to see World War Hulk on the screen. It's a breathtakingly beautiful story. And really lays down the base of that Hulk is the ultimate nuclear option in the Marvel verse. So much so that, I mean, World War Hulk, if you've read it, it ends with Hulk having to fight Sentry because that's the only guy. That's it. Sentry is the only guy
That's
that you
right.
can possibly have go in there and fight Hulk. And like Hulk is literally taking out the Avengers. He's taking out the X-Men. He's taking out Doctor Strange. He's shaking out the Inhumans. He's shaking out everybody. It's a great story about rage. But I don't know with what they've done so far that you can come back from that. I just don't know if they can. I love the idea of them doing it, but I just don't know if they can do it. I just don't know. All right. Anyway, what's next?
Mega Rad with a two-parter says, thanks for another great year of movie news. You are all the best at what you do. I've been following movie news reviews online since 2012. Started with Jeremy Johns, and it's been fun discovering all the other big movie content creators like Stuckman or the Schmoes. It was cool realizing over the years you all knew each other. John, did you ever meet the team at Pretty Much It? They were my go-to for movie news a long time. Thanks for a great year, and here's to more awesome movies in 2025.
I'll be honest. I've never heard of Pretty Much It, but
Yeah.
that's fine. YouTube's a big spot. I'm sure they've never heard of me. So no, I haven't. I mean, I've been really lucky that I've had the chance. Now, it wasn't like me and Jeremy knew each other before. Like we all met each other through this.
Sure.
But I've been really lucky that I've had the chance to work with either on a major basis or even a minor basis I think some of the best guys and best people in the online space. Like everything from obviously Jeremy and I worked together a long time. I've got to do some stuff with Chris Stuckman. I think Chris Stuckman and Jeremy Johns are just like maybe the two best pure movie reviewers I think YouTube's ever had. And the two of those guys are completely opposite from each other. They take very different approaches to their film stuff. Now, obviously, Chris is transitioning more into being a filmmaker, which is great. Obviously, guys like with Greg Elba and John over at why am I freezing on Greg's channel's name?
Oh my gosh.
Rejects.
Real Rejects.
I worked with to do stuff with him. We
Yeah.
just recently had Sean in studio. I've been getting to do some things with Sean recently, which has been really great. Obviously with Christian and Mark and guys like that. So, but it's all been done through the space. So I didn't know any of these guys in advance before. The only one guy that I've had a real connection with before we ever embarked on the online movie stuff was Todd Brown. Todd, who ran like the best international movie site world. It was called Twitch. This was before,
Twitch was, yeah.
not the Twitch streaming, game streaming thing. This was before that came around. Todd started a website. He worked with me on the movie blog for a while. We actually went to Bible college together. And then he started this site that really mostly covered international film. If any of you guys in live chat used to watch Twitch or follow Twitch, twitch.net was the name of it. Todd is like one of the big, he's a big movie executive now. Like his company is behind the Raid movies. And he does a lot. It's XYZ Films, and they do a lot of stuff now. And he's a big guy over there. He's a big programmer at some of the big international film festivals. He's the only guy that I knew in this space before we got into this space. But I've been really lucky in my career to work with some of the really, really best people out there. All right, what's next?
Mega Red follows up. Do you guys think Doom will be killed off at the end of Secret Wars? Maybe he gets a Vader-style redemption. Probably depends on the story they tell. He survives in the comic, but I don't think Marvel can afford to keep RDJ around for another movie.
Marvel can afford to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be in the habit of wanting to pay Robert Downey Jr. $50 million a movie, though. The question for me isn't whether or not I think he survives Doomsday, because I think there's a good chance he does. I'd say 65% chance he does survive it. The question I would have is, does he survive Secret Wars? Because if you understand, again, the story in the comic is not necessarily the story we're going to get on screen. But if you know the story, Secret Wars in the comic, Doom is a big part of that. So I think there's a very good chance that he gets into Doom. The question is, does he survive after Secret Wars? My guess is no. I don't think he does. I think he does Doomsday, but not Secret Wars. All right, what's next?
Your Name, two-parter says, imagine watching Skeleton Crew episode 5 with kids and they ask, what's a concubine? Answer the following question to the kids on Skeleton Crew. What is a concubine? Concubine is a woman who lives with a man she is not married to, and in some societies has a lower social rank within his wife. The word concubine comes from the Latin word cubare, which means to lie down. There you go.
I would have just said housekeeper.
Yeah, there you go.
By the way, that joke was hilarious. What's a concubine?
Yeah, I know. And they're still supposed to be in character, but they blow it.
Yeah. That line was great. What's a concubine? I would have just said it's someone who cleans your house.
It's a housekeeper with benefits.
It's another name for housekeeper. Ask Arnold Schwarzenegger. He'll tell you what that is. So
Okay.
there you go.
There you go.
I did love that joke in that movie. That was great. All right, what's next?
Your Name follows up. Which droid has a higher body count, Chopper from Rebels or Smee from Skeleton Crew? We don't know Smee's background. I mean, his history. So I'd say as a pirate.
I think K2SO has probably the higher body count.
Could be, yeah.
That's my guess is K2SO. But Chopper also has a pretty high body count as well. That's a pretty good one. All right, what's next?
Okay. Thomas Bombadil says, hi, team. Just watched Alfonso Cuarón's Disclaimer on Apple TV. Cinematography is incredible. The OST by Phineas, perfect. The acting, Kevin Kline and Kate Blanchett killed it. Best miniseries of the year for me. Did you see it?
No, I've not had a chance to get around to watching it yet, but I'm hearing from everybody who is echoing your exact sentiment. Everybody who I've talked to who has seen it is raving about that series. So it's definitely on my queue. I'm definitely going to be watching it, but I haven't had a chance to get around to it yet. But I've heard incredible things about it. All right, what's next?
BMC says Robert Pattinson will be 41 by the time the Batman 2 drops. I don't think it's crazy anymore to think they might introduce a Robin character in the sequel. But it's supposed to still take place a few weeks after
Not a
Penguin.
chance.
Yeah.
When you look at now, we're clearly going to get a Robin figure in the DCU.
Yeah.
When you look at Matt Reeves' Batman, though, I'm going to bring around a 12-year-old boy. This Bruce Wayne, this Batman, doesn't bring a 14-year-old child around with him to fight crime.
Nah.
I mean, maybe, you've got Alfred and him saying, you need somebody to care for in your life too. And maybe he brings on a Ward, but I just don't think a Robin character fits into Matt Reeves' Batman. It'll fit into the James Gunn universe.
Yeah.
But I just do not see in that universe, this Penguin universe, Batman running around with a 12-year-old child with a stick.
Yeah.
I just don't see it happening.
What only thing I can see working is like an established Nightwing who's like 21, 22.
Yeah, but then you have
But not-
to change the story, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Nightwing was never
Dick Grayson.
Dick
what-
Grayson, a little child, because it's going to be closer in age to this Bruce.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you could bring in a Nightwing and change their backstory, like completely change their backstory. You can do that. But if you're talking about the traditional Robin
Right.
lore, that character does not fit in Matt Reeves's universe. I don't think, at any rate.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Let's see. Luca says, John, every month I go back and rewatch your WB. This is stupid. HBO Max officially renamed to Max Video. I run out of breath laughing every time I watch it. It's still crazy to me how they went from HBOing everything to just Max. Geniuses.
I still remember that. I think we clipped that out.
Yeah.
Because, like, I look,
It was some date with destiny or whatever
Yeah.
it was.
it is our appointment with destiny. Like David Zaslav, he says this thing about, oh my God, like this is the thing that's going to make everything. They literally named it Max.
Yeah.
It was one of the dumbest moves ever. Listen, everybody can have their own opinion. I think what David Zaslav has done with Warner Brothers since he took it over. Remember, everybody forgets Warner Brothers under AT&T dropped well over 50% of its value in just like 3 years. WB, everybody forgets this. Everybody wants to ignore this. When David Zaslav took over Warner Brothers was doing this. It wasn't doing this. It was doing this. Their name was in the garbage because of that stunt they pulled, putting all their movies on day and date release on streaming the same time. That was all under AT&T's ownership. And their stock fell like crazy. Double check for me, Jonathan, what AT&T bought Warner Brothers for, and then how much they ended up having to sell it for.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Bring up the exact numbers on that, because the numbers will astound you. This Warner Brothers was a shooting victim who had been shot 17 times and was on the doorstep of death. And everybody forgets this when David Zaslav came in and took it over.
So 85.5 billion they purchased.
Okay, so AT&T bought
And
Warner
then-
Brothers for 85 billion
85.
and then ended up selling it
43.
for 43. They took a $40 billion loss on that. Woo. And the fact that they even still exist today is an amazing testament to what David Zaslav has done with Warner Brothers. Even all the things that people cried about David Zaslav, they were the right moves. That being said, as somebody who clearly respects the job that he has done with Warner Brothers, it was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard anybody say. Like changing the name of HBO, which is a revered, respected, recognizable name that is akin to quality. The highest of standards in television in history is HBO. So you have your streaming service called HBO. What do they call? They call it HBO Max.
Yeah.
Dropping the name HBO out of it?
Because the Max was part of Cinemax. That's all I think about is Cinemax when I think of Max. I don't think of some over-encompassing umbrella.
It is like just one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. You got this highly respected, majorly recognizable name. You know what? Let's take it out and just leave it at Max. And now, thankfully, they're kind of backtracking it now, right? So now, like, the new Harry Potter series is not a Max production, it's an HBO production.
As was Penguin.
As was Penguin, as is the new Green Lantern series. It's no longer a Max production, it is a HBO production. You know, I think it's only a matter, I believe before the end of 2025, you're going to see Max have a name change again. And maybe they just go back to HBO Max. Maybe they call it HBO Plus. Maybe they call it HBO Stream. I don't care. But I think by the end of 2025, you'll see them integrate the name HBO back into the name of the stream, which they never should have changed. Never should have changed. Dumbest move they ever did. All right, what's next?
Dimitri says, hey, John and crew, longtime fan of your show. I know James Gunn said that Matt Reeves' Batman is going to be an Elseworlds idea while another Batman exists in the DCU. I believe him, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Thoughts? So, like, they're not going to continue it or what?
No, 100%. No, it already is. We have Matt Reeves' Batman. It is happening, even though it's been delayed. We're getting Batman 2. And they've already announced they're doing Brave and the Bold, a Batman story. We are going to have 2 different Batmen and that is the way they should do it. And it's 100% that's what's happening.
Yeah.
100%. It's already locked. It's already in concrete.
I don't see Gunn being like reactionary at all.
No, Gunn is not going to make the mistakes that the old Warner Brothers leadership used to do. They're just not going to do it. And you're not going to see Robert Pattinson's Batman in the DCU because it just totally doesn't fit the style. All right, what's next?
Your name says, rest in peace to Olivia Hussey, who made 11th grade English from my least favorite class to my most favorite class within a few minutes. Well, hey, that's a nice shout out. I'll tell you what, my 7th grade English teacher is the one who got me from going to be a class clown to taking things seriously a little bit. So teachers can be powerful.
Listen, I still remember all of my grade school teachers. Mr. Hart, Mr. Troutwin, a number of, I remember Mrs. Beatty. I don't remember all my high school teachers, but I remember all my elementary school teachers. Like, they were so influential. One of the biggest black eyes on our society is how we treat teachers. It's just,
I agree.
Point blank, that's one of our biggest shames is how other countries understand the value and the role of teachers. That's why you see a lot of other countries, their students do so much better than American. And I think it's right away, we treat and pay teachers like it's the most unimportant job in the world that anybody could do. It's really one of the big bad things about our culture. All right, what's next?
Bobster says, why is Universal releasing Wicked to streaming just days after making $32 million for the 5-day weekend with another long holiday weekend remaining?
It's stupid.
Yeah, they're just cannibalizing themselves and hurting themselves. I mean, to be fair, you got to pay for it, but I understand.
Yeah, I mean, remember, when it goes to home video, there are two different levels, right? There's VOD, which you're going to have to pay $19, $29.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty expensive from what I checked.
It's different between that and it going, what's the studio behind it again? Warner Brothers?
Yeah.
Right. So there's a difference.
Or Universal, I'm sorry.
It's Universal? Okay. So there's a difference between it going to VOD, which you got to get on like Google or or Apple, and you got to buy it, and then just being on Peacock, which it will eventually be on Peacock. We found out, although it might have been a one-off with Wild Robot.
Right.
Wild Robot went to VOD, but it was expensive while it was still in theaters. And it continued to perform in theaters okay. I mean, it would have done better had it not also been on VOD. But yeah, listen, you know my theory on this. I believe it's a big mistake for them to put Wicked even just on VOD this early. Again, the movie studios are starting to train and condition the movie-going audience. The movie theaters is where they still make the vast majority of their money. Vast majority of their money. This comes from the theaters, not streaming. For an individual project. You're inadvertently conditioning the audience to believe, oh, well, I don't need to go to the movie theater because I just got to wait 3 weeks and then I'll get to watch it at home. It's still a mistake, but I really don't think they should be doing that. Anyway. All right, what's next?
We got Anonymous who says, is Superman DC's A New Hope? It's introducing us to this big lived-in world with politics, sci-fi, and magic through the eyes of a young, hopeful hero destined to save the world. I want the DCU to be structured like Star Wars and Game of Thrones than the MCU.
I think the comparisons are misguided.
The MCU's got lived in now too, though.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, every movie is very unique. They have a style and they have a tone, but like, again, Ant-Man was very different than, say, First Avenger. The first Thor movie is very, very different than, say, Moon Knight. Like they're all different and unique. And I think James Gunn in his cinematic universe, you're going to have an overall tone of the universe, yes, but they're going to have R-rated movies. They're going to have more kid-friendly kind of fare. They're going to have... So I think Superman is going to kind of set the tone for the DCU, but every movie is still going to be unique, right? And you're right. I think the comparisons to the Star Wars motif are accurate, although Star Wars wasn't the first one to do that. But yeah, we'll see how they kind of evolve the whole thing. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got a three-parter for Mr. Sledge, who says, hey guys, I've been a listener since AMC days. I was reading all the divisive comments online about Superman's undies on the outside, crypto, Guy Gardner haircut. Came up with a theory. The red undies on the outside costume is in the 1950s. And the trailer moves through time. If I pause the trailer, it seems all the red undies scenes are in the past, and in the more modern scenes, you can't see the trunks at all. So we might have been endgamed by James Gunn in the trailers. And the trailers are only from the first 15 minutes of the movie or something like that.
No, what we can say definitively is that this movie does not move through different eras. Superman was not around in the 1960s. James Gunn has kind of confirmed that this movie is Superman has just started his career in the first couple of years of his career at the Daily Planet. So it's not like Superman is an immortal being who's been around since the 1960s and he's still in that world. Now, that's not to say that they won't change the costume throughout the film. Maybe they do. But yes, James Gunn has confirmed that he does have it. Originally, he wasn't going to have the red undies on the outside. I wish he had stuck with that. But he had been convinced to put on the red trunks on the outside, which I think is a dumb look, but that's fine. And that's it. But no, we're not going to get a Superman in the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s. It all takes place in one time window. All right. Thanks for that, man. What's next?
Full Boyle says, I know this is completely off topic for the show. I was wondering where Jonathan can tell us where he gets his Dodgers merch. Go Dodgers. Oh, I mean like Fanatics, MLB Store. You guys might have seen on what was that, Friday or
Thursday.
Or Thursday. I was wearing a hat. John and gave me this awesome hat as a present. It was like a championship throwback hat. It was really cool. So yeah, but those are the main two things: Fanatics, MLB Store. Yeah.
All right. What's next?
AL says, if you were forced to have one of these three run your company, who would you pick? Chapek, Kennedy, or Aaron? Honestly, Chapek gets a lot of flack, but he's run successfully like operations before Disney.
Yeah, I mean that one of the reasons Chapek got the job was because he had done a competent job running certain divisions. His just outlook and that's why when they hired him, I even said this is the right pick. Because on paper it was. Definitely not Kathleen Kennedy.
Kennedy's a producer,
100%. If she offered to come on to produce a movie I wanted to make, I would 100% take her.
Yeah.
100%. And Adam Aaron, in my opinion, is just an incompetent boob. So Bob Chapek.
There you go.
Bob Chapek. If I had to pick one. All right.
I had to do it.
What's that?
JCSC says, I had the John Campea Show podcast to listen to during all the drives to relatives' houses last week. Thanks to this show, Superman is now on my dad's radar. So he didn't know a new one was coming next year. Despite $250 million views, there's still many who don't know it exists.
Well, I mean, I think what a lot of people, especially those of us who live in our bubble, those of us who make and watch shows like the John Campea Show, of course, we all knew a new Superman movie was coming. But remember a few weeks ago, I said, guys, don't underestimate. There's a lot of people out there who don't even know there's a new Superman movie coming. And like that trailer dropped and exploded on a lot of people's radars. And at 250 million views in the first 24 hours, again, making it the biggest trailer debut of any DC movie in history and any Warner Brothers movie in history. Number 5 biggest first 24 hours in the history of all films, only beat out by several Marvel films. There are still people who didn't know, but awareness is now going to start to be built, and hopefully the climax is a good movie. I mean, they're doing all the things right to get us to the movie. Now, do they make a great movie? And that's the hard part for James Gunn. So we'll see. All right, what's next?
Jai follows up, says, also, quote from my dad, I do like this show you listen to, but how did they get away with swearing so much on the radio? Oh, we get fined a lot.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Half of our income goes directly to paying off the FCC fines. Yeah, those motherfuckers. All right, what's next?
There goes another.
There's another one. It's a swear jar.
I Am Justice says, do you buy Gunn's response on why the Batman 2 is delayed? Or do you think something deeper is going on? I want to buy it, but I have a gut feeling there's more than just waiting for the best script from Reeves.
So James Gunn kind of responded, listen, James Gunn is doing what the leader should do. He's covering the other guys. So for those of you who didn't see, James Gunn kind of came out and defended it, saying, oh, it's not all that unrealistic now today in today's world for like there to be 5 years in between movies. My response to James is, yeah, it is a little bit unusual. 5 years is not the norm. But honestly, I honestly think he was just covering for Matt Reeves. That I listen, James Gunn has not called me to tell me that. I don't know, but my feeling is James Gunn is doing what a good leader should do. And he's covering, like, what James Gunn should not do is come out and say, hey guys, listen, I'm as frustrated about this. I've been on Matt Reeves' ass for like 8 months now, asking him where's my new draft of the script. So, but that's not what a good leader does. He comes out and like a coach in a team.
Yeah.
A coach in a team will come out and do the after game press conference after they get their asses handed and say, we got out coached. I didn't have the guys ready for the game, even though the real fault was this asshole who completely blew every play. No. That's not what a coach does. It comes out. So
Are we talking about the New York Jets?
Yeah, but I think James Gunn is simply saying things to not say Matt Reeves.
Yeah.
And I think he's covering for Matt Reeves.
And also, Gunn has been in the exact position that Reeves has been in.
Yes.
So there's a lot of empathy there.
So he understands the struggles of being a writer, a director, a filmmaker. He's been there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that why I think directors and filmmakers who go to make films now with James Gunn are going to love the fact that the CEO of the company is one of us.
Has been a poor writer.
Yeah, he's been a guy who's done this and has made all these things. So yeah, that's what I see. All right, what's next?
I love this name, Eagly's Embrace. With the year we've had in movies, is anyone else excited as I am for the Razzies?
I'll tell you what.
Maybe so.
I love. First of all, it should be said. Never take the Razzies seriously.
No, it's not pure hate.
It's all meant in fun.
Yes.
Right.
But I still love the Razzies. I still love the Razzies. And I wonder if this year they're going to say each category this year has to have 20 nominees as opposed to 5. Oh, it's going to be a Madam Web Craven kind of year at the Razzies. It's going to be an epic one. All right, what's next?
Daisy May says, hey guys, I've been rewatching Heroes lately, and it's made me realize, 1, how good the show still is, and 2, that I don't think any superhero show will ever be as good as season 1 of Heroes. I love the Penguin, but it's a great mob show, not a superhero show.
Well, and I think an argument could be made that Heroes wasn't really a superhero show either. Right? I mean, in a way it is, but the way it's structured and the way it tells a story, it's about people with powers, not about superheroes.
Yeah, because they never save the world.
Well, he
you
does.
know what I mean? But like in that
the
season,
cheerleader saved the world.
Yeah,
but it's like none of them don the costume and go out on patrol to patrol crime at night.
right.
It's about what happens in this world where people. It's kind of a mutant story in many ways, but
Yeah.
certain people are born with abilities, and how do they deal with that? So I would argue that, and I love season 1 of Heroes. I think it's one of my favorite. It might be my favorite single season of television ever. But I don't know that I would qualify it as a superhero show because it's about people with powers, not about superheroes. So an argument to be made there too.
Wasn't it kind of like Gifted tried to be like Heroes too? Do you remember that show, Gifted?
Gifted was more. It was an X-Men show.
Right.
Gifted was directly an X-Men show. It was a world where the X-Men existed and the X-Men did all these sorts of things, and you've got supervillains and superheroes and things that have happened. But now, like, mutants are completely running to ground. So I would even say then Gifted was more of a superhero show. But Heroes was not in a world that had any of that, and it was a kind of a new phenomenon for them.
And we all know what the best superhero show was. It's Powerless.
Oh, God, I loved that show.
That idea was so fresh to me. I love it.
I'm not going to call it the best superhero show ever, but Powerless, it only got 1 season. I think it was an NBC show.
Yep.
That was a really underappreciated show. I thought Powerless was really good. I wish it'd gotten more seasons. All right, what's next?
Your Name says, although the songs in Moana 2 weren't as great as Moana, Beyond demonstrated Ali'i Carvalho can sing. We'll not know if the Disney Factory did a great job in choosing her live action successor until we hear her sing How Far I'll Go.
Ali'i is she is primarily a singer. And she is a remarkable singer. And that first Moana movie showed us that. But unfortunately, yeah, the music in Moana 2, I walked out of the first Moana being able to hum almost every song that came out. Shiny. I came out of that movie being able to hum tunes and sing almost lines from every single song after my first viewing. I could not hum 3 notes of any song in Moana 2. Not a single one. Which is one of the big drop. Again, I like Moana 2. It's a fine movie. I enjoyed it. It's good. But one of the big drawbacks of it, and the addition of the little sister was adorable and wonderful. And there's a lot of things to like about Moana 2. but the music in it definitely was a major step backwards from the first film. All right, what's next?
Jake G says, "Hey John, do you have any thoughts on Squid Game season 2? I'm only through episode 3, and for me, the show hasn't missed a beat. Still just as good as season 1. Was worried for a sophomore season slump, but so far I'm loving it. I didn't realize it was out.
I didn't realize until this weekend that it was out. I'm gonna be honest with you. Look, I really liked season 1. I don't feel much urge to start watching season 2.
There doesn't seem to be that.
I mean,
water
we already
cooler.
get it. We've seen Squid Game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, we were talking earlier about like the new Kate Blanchett show. I'm like, oh no, I haven't gotten around to it, but it's on my queue. I will eventually watch Squid Game season 2. I will. I don't feel any rush to do it though.
I'm not sensing the water cooler talk of season 1.
Yeah, everybody was talking about Squid Game season 1.
Like Severance.
I don't hear people talking about it with season 2. Not that people are saying it isn't good, not at all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I don't feel that urgency to watch it like I do with other shows. All right, what's next?
Feathers McGraw says, "What are your thoughts on Nick Park and Aardman? In my opinion, he's one of the select few directors with so few perfect filmographies. He's won 4 out of 5 Oscars he's been nominated for, and he's going to be nominated again this year for the new Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul."
I honestly couldn't tell you Nick Park's name. I really couldn't. I do know that I do like those films. They're not to me on the same level as, although they're made very differently, but they're not on the same level to me as Pixar films and stuff like that. I enjoy them. I like the Wallace and Gromit movies. I'm not the major fan that a lot of other people are. I enjoy the films, but it's about that. So, and I honestly, I've never known the name behind it. To be honest, I've just never cared enough about it to look into it that much. But again, they make good movies, and that's all that matters to me. All right, what's next?
We got Nate. Future Man says, been binging Squid Game season 2, and I gotta say how much I like it, even more than season 1. I was wondering how they would follow up the first epic season, and it's been a blast watching it so far. I have 2 more episodes to go. Let's hope it sticks the landing.
Yeah, and again, I haven't seen. I'm probably still a few weeks away from starting to watch. I still have not started watching Lioness. Not Linus, as in Linus Tech Tips.
Sure.
Lioness.
Yeah.
The Zoe Saldana show.
Yeah.
I still have not started watching that, and I made it a promise myself to get caught up on those first 2 seasons because I've heard nothing but great things about
I've
it.
been binging Silo. I'm almost caught up.
Oh yeah, I didn't know you hadn't seen season 1.
Yeah.
I still haven't watched season 2 of Silo. That's another thing
I'm 2 episodes in this weekend. I binged it and I just got caught up.
I started watching Secret Level.
Nice. That was the one I was trying to
and?
figure out. Secret Level.
And I haven't finished it. There's really short episode, but the Sifu episode was so good. It made me want to go back and play that game. Sifu is like a martial arts game. It's good so far. I mean, I've
heard good things about it. I gotta
They're
get
like
on
Louis size episodes.
All right, what's next?
Nate says, "Is it just me or is it strange that we still have no official trailer for Daredevil yet? Love the show and keep up the great work."
When does the show come out?
March. It'll probably hit soon.
Yeah, remember, TV shows are different than movies, right? Like you don't want to drop trailers too soon.
A lot of competition, so
but I agree with Jonathan. I think very soon.
yeah.
We'll get, and remember they gave us kind of peeks and looks at it already. It's not like they haven't dropped any marketing for it already. They have put out marketing. We've seen clips and stuff like that. So the marketing machine for Daredevil has begun. But yeah, we're going to get that first big trailer here probably pretty soon. All right,
watch a hit this week. Tomas says over under 60%. Jennifer Walters as She-Hulk appears in Daredevil. Over under 25%. Peter Parker, Spider-Man. I say under for Spider-Man.
I'd say 0 for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
0.
And She-Hulk, I don't see it either.
15%. Listen, everybody knows I hated the She-Hulk show. But there were moments. There were things in that show that had promise. And like Tatiana Maslany was the right cast for that. She is the perfect girl to play She-Hulk.
I don't have a problem with any of the actors in the series.
No, the actors were all great. And you know what? I liked the character.
Mm-hmm.
Like I hated the show, but the character was a good character.
Yeah.
And the whole thing between her and Daredevil was one of the highlights of the show. It's some of the best moments, the stuff between her and Charlie Cox was great. So I would say 10 to 15% chance. And you know what? I'd be all for it if she just pops up in an episode to help out with a legal issue or something like that.
Not as she. Well, I guess she's always. No. Yeah. So just as herself, right?
Yeah.
Not as,
Again, so I like the character very much. She's great playing the character. And yeah, I'd like to see her pop up. But I think I'd give it a 10 to 15% chance.
there you go.
All right.
CM Water says, I know you guys were joking, but much like Vision or Black Panther, adding Mahershala as Blade to the roster of Doomsday or Secret Wars wouldn't be a bad way to both introduce and test the waters of the character before making his own movie.
No, Black Panther, they already committed to making the movie before they introduced him in Civil War. Blade is not a character I don't think you need to introduce him in something first to test the waters. And if they were going to bring in Blade in Doomsday or Secret Wars, which isn't a bad idea, I'm just saying, if they were bringing him in just to test the waters, I mean, they didn't test the waters on Guardians of the Galaxy before they made a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. They didn't test the waters on Thor before they made a Thor movie. They didn't test the waters on... To do that would mean that our already 50-year-old Mahershala Ali wouldn't even be going into production of a Blade movie until like 2028. Not getting a movie till 2029 or 2030. And so no. And listen, it is possible they could bring in Blade, even if they never get their act together and we don't get a Blade movie. You could still have Blade in Doomsday and Secret War somehow, some way. But I mean, no, using those movies as a test the waters for a character. Yeah, the Avengers movies are not something you test the waters for anything. Those are your big event movies, and you just do them. All right, what's next?
Okay, last of the tips. Sun Tzu says, hey guys, with the Batman being delayed, do you think there's a possibility they're reworking something tonally wise to make Batman more cohesive with Gunn Superman? Thanks, have a great day.
No, absolutely not, and they shouldn't. The Batman was great. You don't compromise it now to make it fit into something else. And
Also,
James Gunn has already been very clear. There's going to be the Matt Reeves Batman, and there's going to be the DCU. They're not, and he addressed, James Gunn directly addressed the question about, have you considered bringing in the Robert Pattinson Batman into the DCU? He said, well, of course you consider it because you consider options on the table, but no, that's not what we're doing. So that question is already done and answered.
he is not going to do a zinger. He's not going to do a gotcha moment where he's like, guess what?
Yeah.
He's now in the DCU. He's just not going to do that.
Yeah. All right, we got a little bit of time left. Let's take some questions from our I was going to say from our sponsors.
Yeah,
from our channel members.
Channel members. Kieran says, just wanted to say thank you for another great year of punditry. I've been subscribed for over 5 years now.
Thank you, man.
Listen every day during my commute. Here's to a glorious 2025.
Thank you so much, dude. It's great when anybody watches or listens to our show. It's always the most gratifying when you know that people have been like a part of the community and with you for a long period of time. So thank you so much for that, man. We really appreciate it. And here's to a great 2025. All right, what's next?
Joel Checky says, saw a Complete Unknown last night as a non-Bob Dylan fan. I really enjoyed it. James Mangold has another win, and Chalamet was excellent. Have you guys seen it? Yes, I have. I loved it.
I still have not seen it as somebody who loves Timothy Chalamet, but on Christmas, we had the option of seeing Nosferatu or seeing Complete Unknown. We chose Nosferatu. And then it was Christmas, and then we went to Vegas, and so I still haven't had a chance to watch it. I'm going to watch it this week, but I'm hearing great things about it. Jonathan, you loved it.
Loved it.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
I'm a big Bob Dylan fan too, but
getting a lot of awards buzz. It's already getting a lot of awards buzz. All right, what's next?
We got Dad Jokes. Hi, John. Have you seen the show Out of My Mind on Disney Plus? It's about a girl with cerebral palsy. It's really great. It does make you quite frustrated, though, when people mistreat the main character, but it is humbling and inspiring watch. If you like Queen of Katwe, you will like this movie. I haven't heard of it.
I've never even heard of it. I've never even heard of it.
Yeah.
There is very, very few things, and I'm sure this is true for most of you guys as well. I'm sure most of you guys will agree with me on this and feel the same way. There are few things that will make my blood boil as much as seeing somebody mistreat somebody. I know the word handicap is not the right word to use today, but I mean, just for lack of the vocabulary, mistreating or being cruel or mean to somebody, particularly with that sort of condition. very few things make me as angry. You might be surprised to know that I have not gotten into many street fights in my life. Despite, my background and what the things I like to do, I've never had many street fights. The one time I was in Hamilton, and it was when I was in high school, and when we're in high school and we're kids, we're also pretty stupid. And I'm sure there are a lot of things that people who are adults now look back on I'm sure we all do. We look back on our behavior when we were younger and going, oh my God, I can't believe that was me. But I mean, the one time somebody was mocking, openly, loudly mocking one of the special needs students in our school on the bus. And I hauled off. Once we got them off the bus, I hauled off. And nobody got mad at me for it. Nobody got mad at me for it. It's like, that fucking guy. You know what? I think that dude actually turned out to be a pretty nice guy later in life, but whatever. But I'm sure most of us feel the same way. Is there anything, there's not a lot of things that would make us as individuals angrier than seeing somebody with that sort of a condition getting treated poorly, mistreated, whatever. It's like, you piece of shit. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, what's next?
Dr. Stinky says, hey, not to mention anything negative, but I've been struggling with a debilitating anxiety. I want to ask, what are your guys' favorite films to watch to calm it or comfort it? Thanks for all you do.
You're not alone, man. You're not alone. I got a really good friend of mine who struggles a lot with anxiety, and it can hit all of us at different times, right? So first thing is first, and I say this as a non-mental health professional, but know that you are not alone. That you are facing stuff that does not mean you are weak or anything like that, because other people share this struggle as well. Obviously, first thing I want to say is seek help. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's get rid of the stigma that getting seeking therapy or anything like that, or talking to a professional, that's any kind of a sign of weakness. I know I say this all the time, but when we go to the gym, we applaud it because you're going to make yourself physically stronger, and we applaud that. We should be applauding each other for going and getting help to make ourselves mentally stronger and to deal with our mental health and everything too. It's absolutely something we should destigmatize. So my first thing would be, hey dude, just go talk to a professional. I think it's a really good thing to do. That being said, for me, movies are great for when I'm feeling really stressed or really down or whatever, because it just allows my mind a brief reprieve from dealing with it, right? For me, and I know this is stereotypical, is comedies. They say laughter is the best medicine. It's not just a saying. Laughter does great things for you. And so for me, it's always just great comedies. Yeah. So whether it's something like a Galaxy Quest or Step Brothers or Zoolander or 40-Year-Old Virgin or what, just find a movie that never fails to make you laugh. And that doesn't fix your problems, but it just gives your mind a reprieve, and it puts you in a little bit of a better state of mind for me. But again, my beginning thing is go talk to a professional, man. It's noble to do that. Just like going to the gym to improve your physical health. Go do that if you're ever in the midst of that.
Oh, well,
all right.
Also watch Employee of the Month, baby.
And watch Employee of the Month.
Nice. Hidden guilty pleasure.
That's your hidden thing?
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
Matt says, just saw theaters re-releasing 7 in IMAX. Will you buy tickets to watch it? Also, how big would it be if theaters released The Dark Knight again?
I love 7. I don't feel the need that I have to go watch it on the big screen again.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight, I mean, it would do well for a re-release.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably see The Dark Knight on the big screen again.
I would too, actually.
Especially if it was in IMAX, I would do that.
Yeah, especially in IMAX.
Yeah.
I would go I don't think it would be as big as Interstellar's re-release, but because everybody has watched Dark Knight so many times.
I know.
But I think I would probably go do that. All right, let's take 2 more.
All right, King Daddy Goat says, hey, crew, just wanted to throw Carl Urban's name in the hat for actors to play Kratos in the God of War series. Yeah, he seems a bit smaller than the normal Greek god, but I do think his voice would work great. What do you guys think? Thanks, Bring On the Filthy.
Honestly, his voice is the only thing that I think is a good fit. I love Carl Urban. I think he's great. I've also had the opportunity to do a few things with him. I think he's a marvelous dude from the exposure I've had to him. And I think he's a fabulous actor. I don't see him as Kratos. I don't see it. Now, if they announced it tomorrow, I'll get on board with it, but I don't think it would be my choice, though. I don't think I would pick him for that. A lot of things I would pick him for, but not that. All right, last question of the day. What's next?
Amin says, did you watch Here? Tom Hanks, Robert Zemeckis. Doesn't have a great story, but it's about life. I love this aesthetic and style. I give them props for trying something new. It felt like watching a play.
Yes.
The editing and cutting between different time periods simultaneously was great. The ending was beautiful.
I was late to the party. I did finally get around to watching it. Conceptually, it was a really neat idea. It was very different. Pretty unmemorable for me, to be honest with you. It didn't hit me the way that I think they were hoping it would hit. Now, that's just me, but it wasn't one of my favorites, to be honest with you. All right, let's do one more.
Okay. Brennan says, hey, John and crew, just wondering if you've ever played the Back to the Future Telltale game. It's basically Back to the Future Part 4, 5, and 6. So, if so, what are your guys' thoughts on it? I think it's an awesome continuation for fans. I've only done the Batman Telltale game, where it's kind of like that.
Yeah, the
choose your own
Arkham stuff.
Yeah.
Isn't that the ones who make The Wolf Among Us?
I think so.
Yep,
It's that
they did
style.
Wolf Among
I didn't
Us,
know they did
and
a
they
Back
have
to
a
the Future.
Walking Dead one too.
Yeah.
They did a
Yes,
Walking Dead
that's
one.
right.
I'll be honest with you. I've never even heard of them.
Yeah, me
I
either.
never even heard that they did Back to the Future games.
No, yeah.
So clearly the answer to that question is no. I have not played them.
Yeah.
And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because it gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget to join us tomorrow. The last show of 2024
Crazy.
is tomorrow. We hope you guys will come in and join us for that. We'll look forward to it. And hey guys, while you're here, do us a favor. Make sure you click the thumbs up button, leave a comment. It's great offerings to the YouTube algorithm gods that really help our show out a lot. So please, if you haven't done so yet, just take a moment, click the thumbs up, and we hope to see you back again tomorrow. So for everybody in the room, Ray Ora,
See you guys tomorrow.
Jonathan Voico,
See you guys.
my name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.